तीन चार बच्चे घरों को वापस आ गए, फिर आपका सारा ये कोई नहीं आएगा। किस तरह आप कहते हैं कोई नहीं आएगा? किस तरह?
On a quiet evening in 1999, a letter arrived at the offices of a prominent Pakistani newspaper. Its contents would soon become a source of national horror and disbelief. Written by a man named Javed Iqbal, the letter was a confession of unimaginable atrocities. In it, Iqbal claimed responsibility for the murder of 100 children, detailing his heinous acts with cold, methodical precision. The letter read, "I am Javed Iqbal, and I am the killer of 100 children. I lured them to my home with the promise of shelter and food. Once they were inside, I drugged them and committed unspeakable acts against them. After that, I strangled them to death. To ensure that no evidence remained, I dissolved their bodies in acid. I am proud of my work and wanted to ensure that my confession would be known." Welcome to Tales from the Casebook, where we dive into the darkest corners of criminal history. Today, we delve into the chilling case of Javed Iqbal, a man who brutally killed 100 children without a trace of remorse or grief. Javed Iqbal Mughal was born in Lahore, Pakistan in 1956, into a well-off family. Despite his affluent upbringing, his childhood was marked by a sense of isolation and detachment from his family. As a young boy, Iqbal was described as introverted and withdrawn, often preferring his own company to that of his peers. He struggled academically and socially, leading a life that many described as troubled and misunderstood. As he grew older, Iqbal's relationship with his family deteriorated, and he became estranged from his parents and siblings. He was known to have a difficult personality, often clashing with those around him. This led to a life of isolation, where he found solace in his own company, harboring resentment and anger towards society. Iqbal's descent into darkness began with a series of failed business attempts. His inability to succeed in the business world deepened his sense of frustration and anger towards society. He started to show more disturbing behavior, becoming increasingly isolated and disconnected from reality. In the past, Iqbal had been caught by the police in a case of rape and was punished harshly, being beaten 100 times with a tough belt-like object. This severe punishment led to his hospitalization. The event was so traumatic for his mother that she cried excessively and passed away from grief. Iqbal had always been deeply attached to his mother. She was his only source of love and support. Her death left him with nothing but his anger and sense of betrayal. The loss of his mother, combined with his harsh treatment in police custody, fueled his desire for revenge. According to his own accounts, it was during this time that he began to fantasize about revenge. He saw himself as a victim of society's injustices and believed that the world had plotted against him. These dark thoughts eventually led to his plan to target the most vulnerable members of society, children. In his letter, Iqbal provided chilling details of how he lured his victims, young boys, many of whom were street children or runaways, into his home under the guise of providing shelter and food. Once inside, he would drug them, commit unspeakable acts, and then strangle them. He confessed to dissolving their bodies in acid to ensure no trace was left behind. Iqbal's meticulous planning and execution of these crimes demonstrated a level of depravity that shocked even the most seasoned investigators. The methods Iqbal used to commit his crimes were both methodical and brutal. He exploited the vulnerabilities of his victims, using their trust to manipulate and harm them.
आपने 200 बच्चे क्यों नहीं कत्ल किए 100 क्यों इंतकाम कर रहे थे ना इंतकाम कर रहे थे
मेरे पास आज भी इतने पैसे थे कि मैं ये सिलसिला जारी रख सकता था
कितने पैसे अगर कल को आप जो जितने मारे हैं उनमें से तीन चार बच्चे घरों को वापस आ गए फिर आपका सारा ये
कोई नहीं आएगा
किस तरह आप कहते हैं कोई नहीं आएगा किस तरह
When Javed Iqbal's letter first reached the police, many thought it was a sick joke. The gruesome details seemed too horrifying to be true. Despite initial doubts, the police decided to check the address Iqbal had given. When they arrived at Iqbal's house, they were met with a scene of unimaginable horror. The interior was stained with blood, and there were disturbing items like chains and acid-filled barrels scattered around. The most chilling discovery was the personal belongings of missing children, which confirmed the nightmare described in the letter. The sight was so shocking that it turned skepticism into urgency. The police realized they were dealing with a real and horrific situation. The discovery led to a massive and frantic manhunt as authorities across Pakistan worked to capture Iqbal and stop any further crimes. Iqbal eventually turned himself in at the offices of a local newspaper, surrounded by reporters and onlookers. He maintained a disturbing calm as he described his crimes, showing no remorse for his actions. During his interrogation, Iqbal claimed that his actions were a form of revenge against society for the perceived injustices he had suffered throughout his life. He recounted his methods and motives with chilling clarity, stating that he targeted vulnerable children because they were easy prey and unlikely to be missed. His confessions were not only a testament to his guilt, but also offered a grim insight into the mind of a serial killer. The trial of Javed Iqbal became a media spectacle, drawing immense attention both locally and internationally. The courtroom was packed with the families of the victims, journalists, and curious onlookers. Iqbal showed no remorse, and his cold demeanor only heightened the public's outrage. The trial was so emotionally charged that even the judge, who was known for his stern demeanor, struggled to contain his feelings. Moved by the suffering of the victims' families and the brutality of Iqbal's crimes, the judge delivered a sentence that was unprecedented. Iqbal was sentenced to be strangled to death in front of the victims' families, and his body was to be dismembered into 100 pieces, mirroring the horrific nature of his crimes. This extreme sentence sparked a wave of international criticism. Countries like the United States and various human rights organizations urged Pakistan to reconsider the punishment, arguing that it was too harsh and violated human rights. Despite this pressure, the Pakistani authorities, driven by the public's demand for justice and the emotional weight of the case, refused to change the sentence. The judge's decision stood, symbolizing the depth of the anger and the desire for justice in the face of such unimaginable cruelty. The sentence reflected the profound impact of Iqbal's actions on Pakistani society and the lengths to which the legal system was willing to go to address such extreme cases. However, before the sentence could be carried out, Iqbal was found dead in his cell, an apparent suicide. He was discovered hanging from the ceiling, with a letter nearby that declared his death as his final act of defiance. The circumstances of his death remain a topic of debate, with some suggesting foul play and others attributing it to Iqbal's fear of facing his punishment. Iqbal's death in custody added another layer of complexity to the case. Javed Iqbal's case sent shockwaves through Pakistani society. The nation was gripped by fear and horror as they grappled with the reality of his heinous acts. The case exposed significant gaps in the protection of street children and highlighted the need for better social safety nets and mental health monitoring. The trial and its extreme sentence also ignited a debate about the death penalty and its role in justice. Critics argued that Iqbal's death might have been too easy an escape from the pain he caused, sparking discussions on how best to prevent such atrocities in the future. Javed Iqbal's case remains a dark chapter in Pakistan's history, reminding us of the need for vigilant protection of the vulnerable and effective reforms to prevent such tragedies. To keep exploring these intense and crucial stories, hit the subscribe button and join the discussion. Share your thoughts and insights in the comments. Let's work together to make a difference.